Two drones hit the U.S. Embassy in Riyadh. Within hours, Washington ordered Americans to leave more than a dozen Middle Eastern countries. Airspace is tightening, oil prices are spiking, and Iran is warning of more strikes. If this scenario unfolded today, would it mark the tipping point into a full regional war? Tonight, we're breaking down a high-risk escalation scenario in the Iran conflict, and why embassy attacks change everything. First, let's be clear. This is a geopolitical escalation analysis based on current regional tensions. Not confirmed breaking news, but a realistic scenario defense analysts have been warning about. Now, here's the situation. Imagine a joint U.S.-Israel strike severely degrading Iran's military leadership and strategic assets. In response, Iran launches retaliatory drone and missile attacks, not just at military bases, but at diplomatic targets across the Gulf. That's when two drones strike the U.S. Embassy compound in Riyadh. Minimal damage, no casualties, but symbolically massive. Because embassies are not just buildings, they are sovereign ground under international law. And when they're hit, conflicts shift from military confrontation to diplomatic warfare. Here's why that matters. When a U.S. embassy closes, it signals one thing. Washington believes the threat level is no longer manageable. In this scenario, the U.S. suspends operations not only in Saudi Arabia, but also in Kuwait. Evacuation orders expand across Bahrain, Qatar, Iraq, Jordan, and the UAE. That's not routine caution. That's crisis mode. And when the State Department says, depart immediately, commercial airlines start filling up fast. Insurance rates spike. Airspace risks rise. Flights disappear. Thousands of civilians suddenly have to choose, stay or go. That's when panic spreads faster than missiles. But here's the deeper issue. Why would Iran target embassies instead of major military bases? Because drones are cheap. Diplomatic targets are symbolic, and the political impact is global. Iran's drone strategy, seen in conflicts involving systems like the Shahed series, focuses on low-cost, high-visibility strikes. Even limited damage can create outsized headlines. It's asymmetric pressure, and it forces the U.S. into a difficult choice: escalate further or widen its defensive posture and pull back diplomatically. Either option carries risk. Now let's talk about the economic domino effect. If tensions spike across the Gulf, the Strait of Hormuz becomes the pressure valve. Nearly a fifth of global oil passes through that narrow corridor. Even the threat of disruption can push Brent crude sharply higher. And that's when this stops being a regional issue and starts affecting gas prices, inflation, shipping costs, and stock markets worldwide. As energy flows tighten, the economic shockwave moves fast. That's when global powers start paying attention. Politically, escalation also raises domestic questions. Under U.S. law, sustained military operations require congressional authorization. If a conflict expands rapidly, debates over executive war powers intensify. At the same time, international bodies like the UN would likely call for de-escalation, while rival powers such as China and Russia could use the instability to expand diplomatic leverage. In other words, this doesn't stay contained. It becomes a geopolitical stress test. But here's the most dangerous variable: miscalculation. When drones hit diplomatic compounds, retaliation pressure rises. When retaliation rises, mistakes happen. And in modern warfare, mistakes move faster than diplomacy. One intercepted missile, one civilian casualty, one misread radar signal. That's how regional conflicts spiral. So what would determine whether this scenario leads to full-scale war or controlled escalation? Three factors: whether strikes remain limited and symbolic, whether energy infrastructure is targeted, whether global powers intervene diplomatically or militarily. If embassies are just the beginning, escalation becomes harder to contain. If both sides signal restraint after symbolic retaliation, the temperature drops. The difference between those two outcomes is razor thin. And here's the bottom line. Embassy closures aren't just security measures. They are geopolitical alarm bells. They signal that diplomacy is being replaced by deterrence, and deterrence is unstable when both sides feel cornered. The question isn't whether tensions can rise further. The question is, who blinks first? Because if neither side does, the next targets may not be diplomatic compounds. They could be oil terminals, shipping lanes, military bases, and that's when this stops being a regional flashpoint and becomes a global crisis. If you want more clear, fact-based breakdowns of high-risk geopolitical scenarios without the sensationalism, subscribe to World War Room. And tell me in the comments, do embassy strikes force faster negotiations or make escalation inevitable? Stay informed, stay sharp, and I'll see you in the next briefing.